Hello and welcome. In today's video, we're going to look at our support for Oracle Linux Virtualization and how you can easily get started with Veeam Backup and Replication and protect your KVM virtual workloads. If you're familiar with VMware, then KVM and Oracle Virtualization Manager isn't really that dissimilar. A KVM host is similar to an ESXi host, whereas the Virtual Machine Manager is similar to a VMware vCenter. From a Veeam Backup and Replication perspective, we would always recommend that you follow the Zero Trust Data Residency principle and have a clear separation between your backup management as well as your data. And we'll provide more information on this later in this video. So step one is to connect your Veeam Backup and Replication server to your virtualization manager so that you can get visibility into your virtual infrastructure as well as deploy the necessary virtual components. Once connected, the first virtual component to deploy would be the Veeam proxy appliance. You can think of this as the coordinator that's going to distribute the load, and then you can deploy additional workers to maximize your throughput and your resources available to perform a backup. All of these appliances are a complete appliance directly deployed from our console, so no need to install an operating system and software separately, and they can all be updated from our console as well. So once you have your appliance, your proxy and your workers in place, you can then create your first backup and backup from a image-based snapshot and send that data directly to your preferred Veeam repository. So very simple and easy to get started. So let's take a look at a demo and see what this looks like in deploying these components in the Veeam Backup and Replication console.
So here we are in our hands-on lab. This is available on demand should you wish to try this yourself, and provide more information on that later in this video. So just have a quick look at the virtualization manager. We have a very simple setup. We have a single host and we have a single virtual machine, and that virtual machine is a Windows 2019 server that's powered on, and we're going to do an image-based backup of this machine once we've deployed the necessary components. Also worth noting that you also have the option to install an agent within VMs should you need to for any reason. Perhaps it's not 100% virtual, but otherwise we're going to do an image-based backup with no agent required. So if we take a look into the Veeam console, the first step, as you can see, this is a blank environment. There's no backup jobs or any data stored right now. So the first step is to log into our virtualization manager. So we go to Backup Infrastructure, we right click on Manage Servers and we add a new server. In this case, we're going to add our Oracle Linux KVM, or log into our Oracle Linux KVM environment. So you first then provide the DNS name of the server, the manager server, and we're going to connect in very similar to how you would do this with VMware with a VMware vCenter. We've already got the credentials in place, so we're literally going to say yes to the certificate and we're going to log into that server. So this is step one. Very quick and easy to do. And then once we finish this, it's going to prompt us to deploy our proxy. Now, remember, this proxy is the coordinator. It is in full image, so no need to deploy any separate software or operating system. And you would deploy one of these proxies per instance of your virtualization manager. So that would manage any clusters or KVM hosts and virtual machines underneath that virtual manager. So we say yes to this and we go through the deployment process. So we're going to deploy a new proxy. So we choose our compute resources, our cluster. We give the proxy a name. In this case, I'll just keep it simple. Veeam proxy. And then the storage we're going to store it on. This is local storage of the KVM host. And then how many concurrent tasks do you want this proxy to be able to accommodate? A proxy by default will also be a worker, and in small environments maybe that one machine is enough, but in larger environments you would disable this proxy from doing any backups and deploy additional workers. And really this is how many virtual disks can it back up at any one time, and that's really defined by the compute and memory resources that you allocate to this machine. We'll just keep this default for now. Next, what network am I going to attach it to? And do I want the machine to pick up an automatic address, or do I want to assign a static IP address? For this case, we'll do a automatic address. I can choose whether to enable SSH or not, and whether I want it to pick up automatic updates during the deployment. And finally, you would provide some credentials. I've already got some in here, but this is simply what credentials is this machine going to have in case you ever need to log on to it directly. And then do I want to allow it access to all repositories, or do I want to lock it down to specific repositories? I'll just leave it open to all repositories. And that's it. That's it. We're now going to wait for this to deploy, and we'll speed up and we'll come back in a few minutes. That's our deployment complete. As you can see from the steps taken, we deployed the appliance, we applied IP address, we installed any updates that were available, so that's now fully deployed. And if we jump to backup proxies, we can see that new proxy in place. And if I right click on that, you can see that we can disable the embedded worker should you want to go through the same deployment process and add any additional workers to process and more backups. And you can also apply missing updates, view configuration, or restore configuration. And if we take a quick look into the Oracle Virtualization Manager, you'll see that that proxy is a running virtual machine in our cluster. So now that we have our proxy deployed, and we're going to use the embedded for this one, you can see that if we jump back to the console, we already have some storage that we're going to send our backups to. In this case, we have an on-premises immutable S3 target. So any data stored on that device locally will be immutable for a set period of time that's defined when you add that storage. But just so you're aware, we also have many different options for where you might want to send your data: direct attached storage on premises on a Windows or Linux server, network attached storage, dedicated enterprise deduplication appliance, as well as object storage either on-prem or off-site. And that includes our Veeam Data Cloud for that secure, immutable, air-gapped and always encrypted data, and we'll be covering that in a later video. So now that we have everything in place, we can create our first backup. So we're simply going to go to Jobs, Backup a Virtual Machine. We'll leave the default name. We'll select the virtual machine that we want to protect. In this case, we're going to manually select this individual Windows 2019 machine, but you can also use tags or select an upper object if you want to automatically pick up any new entities that are deployed. We don't need to exclude anything, so we'll move on. We'll choose our immutable S3 target. We'll keep a simple 7-day retention, but should you want extended retention, you can create a GFS schedule as well, so weeklies, monthlies, yearlies, and maybe that's the kind of data that might be tiered off to an off-site location such as Veeam Data Cloud Vault. And then we'll simply select a simple schedule. We'll run it every day, but you obviously have different scheduling options, and we'll always try and retry if for any reason we're unable to process the machine the first time. Now that job's created, we'll run that job, and as before, we'll jump forward and we'll see that job when it's complete. So that's our backup complete. As you can see, we have processed 11.3 gig of data. We've stored 7.3, giving us a 1.6x data reduction, and that's our complete backup. If we now look in the console under our object storage backups, you see we have our backup job and there's our machine. And if I right click on this machine, you can see all the recovery options, including granular file recovery, restore or conversion into a cloud workload, restore back to the original or different hypervisor, including instant recovery to say VMware or Hyper-V, as well as the ability to export, publish and scan backups for any hidden malware. So all the kind of capabilities that you would expect from our hypervisor based backup. And that's it.
I hope you enjoyed that demonstration and it showed you how exactly you can easily get started with Veeam Backup and Replication and deploy the necessary components within your Oracle virtualization environment. As mentioned earlier, please have a look at our white papers on the Zero Trust Data Resiliency Principle and how you can adopt that to enhance your cybersecurity posture in your own environment. If you'd like to get hands-on, we have our on-demand hands-on labs where you can gain practical experience with deploying this as well as our wider platform. If you'd prefer, you can always download a trial or contact your Veeam representative so that you can test this within your own environment. And as always, please like, subscribe, follow and comment so that you don't miss any future update. Thanks again for watching, and we hope you can join us for our next episode when we'll be looking into Proxmox virtual environment. Thanks again and hope to see you on the next video.